You may begin.
Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, dear teachers, dear professionals, English teachers from around West Africa. It's a great pleasure to come today and present this topic entitled Promoting Media Literacy Skills in the EFL Classroom. I would like to let you know that this was inspired from the TESOL convention in 2021. Okay, welcome to the first West Africa ever TESOL conference. So that being said, we are going to present you our session's objective. Okay, the next slide is about the session objectives, which evolves around 3 points. The first one, by the end of this session, we will have evaluated the role of media in our modern world. Then explore the rationale behind incorporating media literacy into an English language classroom. So it's all about, EFL classrooms. And then last but not least, we'll propose you some ready-to-use activities and strategies for classroom implementation. Of course, some activities may be true to your context, but you will feel free to adapt them in case they don't really apply to your different contexts. Okay, that being said, we move on to the session plan. And we know that media landscape, okay, and we'll talk about media landscape, then demystifying media literacy, meaning giving a definition to talk to just have a common agreement of concepts. Next, we'll have why incorporate media literacy, the rationale behind incorporating media literacy in our EFL classroom. Next point is how to incorporate media literacy in the classroom. The why is important, but also how to administer it is also as well relevant. Next is now we will give examples of classroom activities. This is what we meant by ready-to-use activities that you will either implement as such or readapt. And last but not least, we will have or to look at some factors to consider when it comes to implement, to deal with media literacy in our classes. This is the session plan. Now, without losing any time, what is media landscape? Okay, what about the media landscape, meaning what is evolving us? Now, the first question is interactive, okay? You can use the chat box and then we will interact about this question. How much time do you spend interacting with the media below every day? It's going to be listed. Next, we have the list of the media: radio, television, newspapers, magazine, internet, and new media. Please use the chat box. Maybe 1 minute. I guess now I have one answer in mind, and I guess it will be the one which will appear the most. Now, which of them is mostly used by your students? Which of the above media channels is mostly used by your students? Okay. Now, I guess that it's the internet for sure, even though they may be interested in TV, radio, or whatever, but I guess that internet is the mostly one with the most used media. Now, do they make good use of it? Please use the chat box. Do they make good use of it? In case they mostly use internet, for example, do you think that they make good use of it? Why not? Okay, your answers are welcome, and then we'll share. Right, so what is media literacy? And for any quotes in this presentation, any quotes, you'll have the sources, at the end, at the foot of the slide, okay? So media literacy is the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, create, and act using all forms of communication. As you may know, these verbs are very strong. We are talking about ELT, we're talking about communicative language teaching. And by the end of the students' learning process, they should be able to acquire, to be able to interact with the language. And these verbs are very powerful, and they remind us about Bloom taxonomy. And this refers to higher order thinking. We would like to have our learners proficient enough, so they should be able to access, analyze, evaluate, create, and act now using all forms of communication rather than absorbing them. Okay. This being said, I know now that we have a common understanding of media literacy. Now, why incorporate media literacy? What's the rationale behind that? The first one is, so media literacy teaches students to think critically. Remember, we are talking about 21st century skills and learner-centered. We have to cultivate other 21st century skills like creativity, collaboration, communication, information literacy, very important, in technology literacy. Yeah, because we know that our students are tech savvy and most teachers are not. We have to go and find them in their comfort zone. We would like to profit from these areas where they feel comfortable and make good use of it. Next, we have help the students to become smart media consumers rather than mere media consumer. Smart meaning that you have to use it in a very intelligent way. Okay. Next, we have, okay, to help students understand now how media or how the media impacts on reality. For sure that media, we all, every day, every time, we are overwhelmed by messages, information coming from everywhere nowadays, and for sure this will impact on reality, and students should be shown how the media impact on reality. And next, in the next slide, we have also other ideas about this. We would like to equip students with strategies to evaluate media. We have to teach them that they shouldn't take everything for granted, everything that comes or that falls within their hands for granted. They should be able to evaluate media and to weigh, okay, what is to take and what is to get rid of. And the other point is we would like to help students explore resources. Today, we are overwhelmed by resources, all sorts of resources. But the point now is how to explore those resources to make them useful, because not all resources can be helpful to those students. And another point is we would like to show them how media influences our behavior. Okay, right? So let's go on then. And then make students create media. The final point is they are receivers, they are consumers. Now they depart from the status of consumer into the status of creator. That's very important now. Okay, and then now that being said, we have gone through, media landscape, the rationale behind using media literacy, and how to incorporate this. Now let's have hands-on activities. What are practical activities that can be proposed in order to turn our students or to make them benefit or being beneficiaries of media literacy? So the first activity, we're going to propose you 5 activities. The first one is, we know that all our students have heroes. Those heroes range from artists, musicians, politicians, even their teachers can be their heroes. They can have also imaginary heroes, whatever. So the idea is here, we have different points. The format of this idea, we would like to imagine, to make them imagine that they have breakfast with a hero. Now, this is an in-class assignment and discussion, and it is integrated. Whenever they discussion, they work in group. Okay, it is integrated, meaning that there will be listening part, there will be speaking part, there will be writing part. Okay, there will be listening part for sure. And the goal is to make them reflect on the impact of the media task. And the task is name the person. We ask your student to name the person they would like to spend 10-15 minutes at breakfast. Once this is done, now there are no limits. They can choose any person. It can be real, history, imaginary, a person from the past or future. For sure, you will have many heroes. Okay, and then the task, they have to write the name on the piece of paper and put it into the box. And afterward, now there will be the discussion, and you are the teacher, you'll be a helper. Okay, let them go, let them speak. And here you can, the focus may be on speaking fluency, okay, over accuracy. For example, when you would like to come back to accuracy, this can be at the feedback part. When they finish now their presentation, now you come back to language. Okay, this is the first activity. The second one is, this is very typical. The first one, I drew it from the TESOL convention a presentation done by Irina Rubel from Belarus. But the second one is a personal experience. I drew it from personal experience, and I knew that it worked. It really worked. Okay, we know that in Senegal, the national sport which is mostly liked is wrestling. Whenever there is a wrestling contest, you hardly ever see people outside in the street. Everyone is hooked on their TV, or they go to the stadium to watch those wrestling contests. Now, and so you depart from what they are experts of. So we know that if it is a context of Senegal, for example, talking about wrestling, people may know about it. So the format is in-class assignment and discussion as well. It will be integrated. And the goal is to reflect on the impact of the mass media. Okay? Students now, as regard the tasks, they are put into groups, depending. They can be groups of 3, 4, or even in pairs, depending on the scope of the different stakeholders, right? And they are assigned roles. Okay? There are different roles they are assigned. Now they then perform before their peers. You give them, okay, enough time for them to prepare and rehearse. You can go through the rows and listen and give help if they need. And now, when they finish now, they perform before their peers. And there will be listening time. Each of them or each group will present. And after the simulation, the teacher can perform a feedback session as well on language use. There is a link which I will share about this activity in a class that successfully dealt with this activity. Now, the next slide, media biography. So this is another activity which is very important, The format is essay or in-class assignment. So the focus will be on writing. If you remember, the 2 first activities I proposed, the main focus was on speaking fluency, even though they are integrated. But here the main focus is about essay writing, okay? We know that many of our students, they have problems at writing. So this can be a pretext to make them write. The goal is to make them reflect about the formation of media and the analysis and how to analyze it. And we have example questions. If you access the slides, you can even extend, maybe go beyond the proposed questions. Yeah, you can ask them questions like, what kind of media was first in your life? I remember for myself, when I was a teenager, I used to like reading comics, like Rodeo and so on. So you can ask them what kind of media was first in your life, okay? And then when did you learn to read? When did you take your first photo? Very important. When did you first use the internet? What media content is important to you now and why? The why is very important. You are fostering your students' critical thinking. So, of course, depending on the age and level. Okay. This is the third activity that you can propose to your student. Next activity. Now, we know that we are in the imaginary here. So, in the picture, you have all sorts of icons about new media. You can see tweet, media, like, okay, share, Facebook, whatever. So we would like to ask to draw students' attention in a world without media. How would they behave? How would people behave? This is the intent for this activity. And the format is partner. They work in group. It can be in pairs, okay, or individually. It depends on your objective. Now, and the goal is to raise awareness of the importance of media and information in society. Okay, and the task is we ask the student to imagine a world without media. Just imagine a world, they would say, wow, how come? I'm sure. And then we have follow-up questions. These two you can add, you are teachers, so from a recipe, we can even add more or readapt, like I said at the beginning. How would you learn what's happening in the world? Yeah, that could be a question. If there is no media source, you as an individual, member of the society, how would you learn what's happening in the world? We are in the deep imaginary, right? And how would you make a decision about what to buy, where to go, okay, where to study, I don't know, whatever. What kind of media would you miss the most? Okay, that's a tricky question. Interesting. And what would society lose if media disappeared? What would society, you can guess? They might say cohesion or standardizing activities, okay, right, and so on and so forth. And like I said, this activity also I inspired from the presentation from the TESOL convention in 2021. And the next activity now is social media assessment. There is a need to assess because we have to teach students that they shouldn't take everything that falls between their hands as granted. They should be put in a position of assessing what comes at their reach. So this is the idea. And the format is it's flexible. They can work individually or even in group, right? And the goal, like in any activity, you have goals, okay? And the goals, you reach them through the task that you design as a teacher, right? A critical evaluation of one of their most used sources of media. So we are not that demanding. We are just asking them to pick up one of their most used sources of media. And now being in the assessor's place, have an assessor's view, right? And now these are the instructions. Ask students to consider a social media source. I'm sure they are familiar with TikTok, with Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat. Okay, I would add even WhatsApp in our context, right? Now, when they come up with their choice, what is this media service used for? They should they should be able to explain what is the importance, or even the important, what is it for, the rationale behind the creation of each of those media, right? Once they ask this question, they enter this question now, what are its benefits to society? Even before going to society, the benefits to themselves first as individuals. They successfully enter that question, now you go further to society, okay, or to your community. And what about the disadvantages? To just have to develop their critical mind to weigh the good, the good side of things and the bad side of things, right? How can it be used to express personal opinion? Okay, this is also an activity. So no hurry when it comes to implement these activities. Give them time for reflection, because what is important is what they use, their use of it. Okay, the impact, how now the product, what they have done from the material that you have given them at their reach. So with the next slide now, we will give you a tool for them to measure, to assess media literacy or media, whatever comes. And we have a proposal that is called ESCAPE. It is an acronym, the E standing for evidence, evidence about what they receive. The S stands for source, whatever you receive as information, okay, there is a source, there is a need to look at the source. Also the context, the audience, any message has an audience. They are destined to a specific audience. The purpose is very important. Every message that is given, it is not taken for granted. It's not given, outside in the world need in the vacuum, I would say. But there is an audience, but there is a purpose in the execution. And then we have follow-up questions. The first one is evidence. Is that fact true? We have some problems in our media. We tend to absorb everything. And sometimes the conditional is used, but people, read the information in the wrong way. If the conditional is used and they make it true. So it's very important. Is this fact true? And then we have follow-up question. Look for information you can verify. The name, the numbers, places, and documents. These are important. It's not that information, but also evidence. Okay, the next one is a source. Who made this? And can I trust them? Are they famous person? Are they reliable person? If they are not reliable, you can check. You can, trace who has touched the story about the author, publisher, to make sure that they are reliable people. And the context also is very important. What is the big picture? What is the essential idea, the main idea that is vehicled by this message? We consider if there is a whole picture or just way other sources surrounding it. The audience are also, everything is important here. The audience, who is the intended audience? This message, is it directly just addressed to me, students, teachers, professionals, businessmen? Who is the intended audience? And the purpose also is very important. Why was this made, this information? Why was it made? And we look for clues to the motivation, call to action. It may be a call to action, people to react. For example, in our context here in Senegal these days, we know that there were so many movements calling for reducing prices, okay? Prices about food and whatever. Money-making tactics, what language? Even the language is important. And now the execution. How is it? Is this an advertisement, which is a piece of advertisement or whatever? How is this information presented? Consider how the way it is made affects the impact, the style, even the grammar, the layout. We know that in the internet, we see everything. Even sometimes, the language is so neglected that even this happens in the copies or in the work that students write, their essays. They even tend to use abbreviation everywhere. And this, I'm sure, is one aspect of the impact of new mass media on them. They tend to abbreviate everything. Of course, we are teaching English. There are some abbreviations which are accepted, but we teachers should prepare our learners to be familiarized to what is tolerated as abbreviated or not. Okay, and now, this being said, this was the last activity which was proposed. Now, the last point is the factors to consider. When, of course, it is important, it is recommended to make our students be smart users of media literacy. The activity that we have within our hands may look interesting, but we have to there are some factors to consider. Okay, we have here the list, the age. For example, you cannot perform the activities above for beginners. So we have to pay attention to these ranges of elements, ranging from age, students' maturity, appropriateness. One topic can be appropriate in a context, in an area, and not appropriate in another. Some activities, can be implemented everywhere you go. Okay, relevance as well is very important. It can be relevant a while ago, I proposed a wrestling contest, which is very relevant in Senegal. It may not be relevant elsewhere. But anyway, teachers, when they access a material, even though the material may not be relevant in the context, but they have the skills, ways, and means to implement and adapt it, to readapt, so that they fit in a given context. This is the final intent about that. But also students' proficiency level. I said it a while ago. You cannot just propose these activities to beginners. Maybe they could apply to intermediate and maybe advanced, or intermediate between intermediate and advanced level. But anyway, you have to pay attention to these factors, but also the content. Okay, everything here is there is a chain of being. One cannot go without the other. Okay, so and then to conclude now, we are going to quote a journalist, American journalist, whose name is Linda Ellerby, in one of her articles entitled Understanding Mass Media and the Importance of Media Literacy. Okay? It is an article in which she says media literacy is not just important, it is absolutely critical. We are teachers and we have to adapt. We are teaching a language. Life is evolving, culture is evolving, language also is evolving. We have to adapt our teaching to the trend. Okay? Now it's going to make the difference between whether kids are a tool of the mass media or whether the mass media is a tool for kids to use. So, in a final word now, or in a nutshell, what we would like is to make students switch from media consumers, because most of the time they consume whatever comes, whatever falls within their hands. I would like them to merge from this status of media consumers into now media actors. So in so doing, they will no longer be tools, victims of mass media, but the media will be just tools for them that they can use, they can operate, they can adapt, readapt, but they won't be slaves of the, excuse me that expression, they won't be enslaved by the mass media. So this is the end of our presentation, and we have references, taken from mostly the TESOL convention of 2021. We had the privilege, it was a great honor, and I'm thankful to Rilo, okay, to our teacher instructor Leah Gabe for her outstanding support. Okay, since we submitted our proposals, they gave us support, outstanding support, and now at the end of our presentation now, we are very thankful to the Rilo, to all that they have done for the success of this. Thank you very much, and we are looking forward to receiving your comments, any concern, we'll try to bring some information or an answer to that. Thank you very much, and I wish you an enjoyable training and excellent presentation ahead.